This is Debbie Hemsley of the Neve Collection. Welcome to part 1 of the Dearly Beloved throw. Please take a few minutes to read through my terms of use, which explains how you are permitted to use and distribute this pattern. Please adhere to these terms to avoid any possible problems with regards to copyright infringement. Thank you. Before starting on this project, please visit my website and download the introduction document. Please read through this document carefully. At this point, you need to decide how many squares you are going to be making for your throw. I've given quantities and materials for both a 3x3, which equals 9, and a 4x3, which equals 12. My recommendation is that you start each square with a new ball of yarn to avoid having lots of ends to sew away. We're going to start with round 1. Round 1 will start with a ring. You have two options here. You can either chain 4 and slip stitch in the beginning chain to form a ring, or alternatively you can use a magic circle, whichever is your preference. My preference is a magic circle. The only tricky part of a magic circle is making sure that you secure the tail end very, very well. It won't come apart if you do it properly. So we're going to start with chain 4, which counts as our beginning treble crochet. We're then going to work 23 treble crochets into that ring, working over the tail end from our magic circle. So when you get to the end, if you include your starting chain, which is your first treble crochet, you should have 24 treble crochets. Wait for me once you've done the 24 treble crochets and I will show you how to do the slip stitch join. We're now going to join with a slip stitch into the top of the 4th chain of the beginning chain 4. Very straightforward little join, just like that. Round 2. We're going to slip stitch in the space between the treble crochet spokes on round 1. We're just repositioning. Then chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the same space. Now working in the spaces between the spokes, we're going to start a repeat, which we are going to do 11 times. The repeat is 2 single crochets and then 1 single crochet. Let's have a look at that. So the next space between the spokes, 2 single crochets. In the next space between the spokes, 1 single crochet. 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet. We are effectively increasing 12 stitches on this round from 24 to 36 stitches. To carry on, I'll see you at the end. The last space of the round should finish with 2 single crochets. Now let's have a look at our join. That is the stitch we're going to join into. Not that one. That is our rising stitch. It's the chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so please be careful. Ignore that one. Into the top of the first single crochet, join with a slip stitch. For round 3, we're going to be using some V-stitches. If you haven't done a V-stitch before, it is straightforward. It's a double crochet, a chain 1 and a double crochet all into the same stitch. So let's get started on round 3. We'll start with chain 4. This counts as 1 double crochet and a chain 1. We'll then do 1 double crochet in the same stitch, which is our starting V-stitch made. Now repeat starts chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and then V-stitch in the 3rd stitch. So it's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. You'll now do this little repeat, which is the chain 1, skip 2 stitches, V-stitch in the next stitch, 11 times in total, so 10 more times. and then wait for me. My 11 repeats are now done, and I now need to do one more chain, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the third chain of the beginning chain 4, like that. Pretty straightforward. Round 4. We're going to slip stitch in the chain 1 space of the beginning V stitch. So just like this, a little slip stitch. Then we will do chain 1. This does not count as a stitch. And then we'll do 3 single crochets in that same space. That's 2 and that's 3. We will now start a little repeat, which we will do 11 times. Let's have a look at that. Chain 2, skip the chain 1 space, and then do 3 single crochets into the chain 1 space at the top of the V stitch. We're going to do that 11 times. So chain 2, second repeat, 3 stitches into the top of the V stitch. So I'm going to leave you to do that. When you finish the 11 repeats, wait for me and I will just show you how we are going to finish the join. When your 11 repeats are finished, you will need to do 2 more chain before joining into the top of the first single crochet. Be careful not to join into the chain 1, does not count as a stitch. Round 5, chain 1, and then do 1 single crochet in the same stitch as the slip stitch join. Just take a moment now to make sure that you've worked in the correct stitch. It is kind of hidden, so you just need to make sure that you haven't skipped that first stitch. Then we'll do a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Now, working in front of the chain 2 space on round 4 and the chain 1 space on round 3, we're going to do 1 treble crochet into the first skip stitch on round 3. This is the first stitch of our repeat, which we are going to do 11 times. So it's our first treble crochet into that skipped stitch, chain 1, and then do another treble crochet into the next skipped stitch on round 3. Now we will do a single crochet into each of the next 3 single crochets on round 4. Careful not to skip the first one, it can be hidden. When you have finished your 11 repeats, you need to complete the round with 1 final treble crochet into the first skipped stitch on round 3, chain 1 and a treble crochet into the second skipped stitch. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the beginning single crochet. Once again, be careful not to join into the chain 1, does not count as a stitch. Round 6. The first thing we're going to do here is that we're going to slip stitch to the center single crochet on round 5, like that. We're then going to chain 4, which counts as 1 double crochet in chain 1, and then we will 1 double crochet into the same stitch, which is our beginning V stitch made. Now our repeat starts. And the repeat starts with a front post double crochet around the front post treble crochet from the previous round. And then we will do 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, like that, and then a front post double crochet around the next front post treble crochet from the previous round. Pretty straightforward. And then we will do a V stitch into the center single crochet on the previous round. That is the end of our little repeat, which we are now going to do 11 times. Let's do one more together. Front post double crochet around the treble crochet from the previous round, 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, front post double crochet around the treble crochet, and then a V-stitch into the center stitch of the 3 single crochets on the previous round. So carry on until you've done all 11, and then I will see you to take you through the join. To finish this round, front post double crochet around the next treble crochet, 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and front post double crochet around the next treble crochet. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the 3rd chain of the beginning chain 4, like that. Round 7. We will start with a slip stitch into the top of the first V-stitch, which is just to reposition our stitch. Chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, followed by 3 single crochets in that chain 1 space of the V-stitch. Our repeat starts now. We'll do it 11 times, so it's chain 4, and then go to the top of the next V-stitch and single crochet 3. Carry on, and I'll see you just before the join. Once you have completed your 11 repeats, you need to do 1 further chain 4 before joining with the slip stitch to the top of the beginning single crochet. Again, being careful not to join into the chain 1, does not count as a stitch. Round 8. We'll start with a chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and then follow that up with 1 single crochet into the same stitch as the slip stitch join, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Our repeat starts now, and we'll do it 11 times. We're going to be working in front of the chain 4 space from the previous round, and we're going to do a front post double crochet around the front post double crochet in round 6. Then we will do a single crochet, still working in front of the chain 4. We'll do a single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then a front post double crochet around the front post double crochet on round 6. Now careful not to skip the hidden stitch, and then do a single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And that is our little repeat, which we'll now do 11 times. So I'm going to leave you to complete that, and I will see you just before the join of the round, and I will talk you through that. Okay, before we join, we need to do 1 final front post double crochet, and then a single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, of course working in front of the chain 4 loop, and then a front post double crochet. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the beginning single crochet, and be careful not to join into the chain 1, does not count as a stitch. That brings us to the end of part 1.